Doug Ford needs to resign. Not next week, not after another apology tour, today. Because what just happened isn't a simple political blunder. It's a full-blown act of international sabotage paid for by you, the taxpayer. Let's get this straight. Doug Ford thought it was a good idea to spend $75 million of your money to run an ad campaign in the United States using clips of Ronald Reagan to lecture Republican voters about tariffs. Let's think about that. The Premier of Ontario, a Canadian province, literally tried to manipulate the political conversation in another country. And what happened? Exactly what any half-competent person could have predicted. It blew up in our face. President Trump just responded calling the ad fraudulent, accusing Canada of foreign interference and terminating all trade negotiations with us. So congratulations, Doug. You've just managed to make Justin Trudeau look like the responsible one. I mean, let's pause here. Why in God's name is the Premier of Ontario wading into US trade politics, spending tens of millions of our dollars to do it when our hospitals are understaffed, our schools are broke, and our economy is choking on debt? He didn't just waste $75 million, he torched decades of trade relationships that support millions of Canadian jobs, just to make a flashy ad the Republicans were never going to listen to in the first place. And let's not forget, this wasn't even a truthful ad. The clip of Ronald Reagan they used conveniently cut out the part where Reagan went on to defend selective tariffs.
It hasn't always been easy. There are those in the Congress, just as there were back in the 30s, who want to go for the quick political advantage, who risk America's prosperity for the sake of a short-term appeal to some special interest group, who forget that more than 5 million American jobs are directly tied to the foreign export business, and additional millions are tied to imports. Well, I've never forgotten those jobs, and on trade issues, by and large, we've done well. In certain select cases, like the Japanese semiconductors, we've taken steps to stop unfair practices against American products, but we've still maintained our basic long-term commitment to free trade and economic growth.
It was a manipulative edit, and now it's backfired on the entire country. Doug Ford didn't just embarrass himself, he embarrassed Canada. He damaged our credibility with our biggest trading partner and poured gasoline on an already fragile economic fire. This, of course, isn't leadership. This is recklessness. It's arrogance, and frankly, it borders on treason. Because when you knowingly act against your own country's economic interests and use taxpayer money to interfere in another nation's politics, you've crossed a line that no premier should ever cross. So yes, Doug Ford should resign immediately. Because if there's one thing worse than liberal corruption, it's conservative stupidity. Ontario deserves better. Canada deserves better, and every taxpayer who just had $75 million lit on fire to fund this foreign propaganda stunt deserves justice. Doug Ford didn't defend Ontario. He just sold it out.